with the Department for Education on a set of tutorials for teachers within the South Australian Department for Education. And this is one of a series of webinars that we're doing that are based on the use of your Adobe tools to help you enhance your creativity, to help you enhance your digital literacy, and to help you enhance your communication skills, not just as teachers, but also to encourage your students to be more creative and digital literate. This particular session is titled Publishing Text, Images and Video Content to the World or to the Person Next to You with Spark Page. We've already had a session on Spark Video, we've already had a session on Spark Post, so you should already be familiar with the Spark tools generally, but we're going to be spending the bulk of this session on the Spark Page, the web page development side of the Spark tools. And please don't be put off when I say web page development, because it's very much not a coding or development type tool. It's a very simple way to publish material online so that you can communicate it through your learning management system or any other online tool. And it's a brilliant tool for getting online communication happening. Just by way of interest, Spark is one of many, many applications that your school is very likely to have access to. And you can see a whole range of them there. That's not even all of them that you can see, but you can see how they fit into different categories of things that you can do as teachers and as education administrators. Spark comes into our presentation type tool. And as I said earlier, there are 3 parts of Spark, and we're focusing on Spark Page for today. Along with InDesign and InCopy. InCopy is very little, not used that much in education. For illustrations, Illustrator is very popular, particularly amongst graphic designers. And look at all the video tools. Spark also fits into that video side with the Spark Video. The simplest way to make a video is through Spark Video, but our more professional video tools ranging from Premiere Pro at the highest level through to Premiere Rush and down to Spark Video. Tools for images, tools for web and app design, and tools for document management. But the ones that I'm highlighting now are the ones that I tend to be working more and more with teachers. Probably 90% of my time is spent on the Spark tools, Premiere Rush, Adobe Character Animator, brilliant animation tool, real-time animation, it's so cool, and Adobe XD. So they're the ones you might want to sort of hunt out for and look for when we're running workshops on those particular tools. So I'm finding teachers and students are loving those tools, probably more so than most of the others. If you're relatively new to the world of Adobe and how the tools kind of all fit together, I'm going to play a quick video for you for this opening introductory chapter that does give you an overall perspective on what the tools do and how they kind of fit into the world of education. Adobe's industry standard. Just going to stop that video because I just realized that I hadn't stopped sharing, or had I? Had I stopped sharing? Looks like I've stopped sharing now. Yep, so I'm going to play that video again because sometimes that video doesn't work unless I've stopped sharing. So let's try again. Adobe's industry standard tools like Photoshop, Illustrator, Premiere Pro, After Effects, Animate, InDesign and Dreamweaver are vital for media, IT and arts educators in K-12 and tertiary classrooms across the globe. But these days there are a growing number of simple to use tools like Spark Video for quick and simple video stories, Spark Post for digital posters and social graphics, Spark Page for quick web pages that Adobe will host for you, Aero for augmented reality experiences, Acrobat DC for PDF manipulation, Adobe XD, a design thinking tool for designing, prototyping and sharing the designs of apps and websites, Dimension for making 3D models, Rush for powerful video editing on your mobile and desktop devices, Fresco, which is the ultimate drawing tool for the iPad and Surface Pro, Photoshop for the iPad, the new Photoshop camera, Character Animator for real-time animation, the new Illustrator on the iPad app, and more. These apps are being used by maths and science educators, English and humanities teachers, law professors, health and physical education teachers, and in any K-12 or tertiary curriculum area that is looking to add an extra level of engagement and creativity into the learning and teaching process. Get to know these apps through the Adobe Education Exchange, which is getting close to 1 million members across the globe with a wide variety of new, free online self-paced courses and resources for educators. The Adobe Education Exchange is made by teachers for teachers. It's a great way to learn how and why Adobe tools are so beneficial in all curriculum areas. It is also the gateway to the new Adobe Creative Educator program, which is a badging program designed for any educator in any curriculum area and level. You don't have to be an Adobe expert to be an Adobe Creative Educator. We do hope you enjoyed this session. Please do share what you learned today with your colleagues and wider education networks. Use this QR code or link if you would like to follow up anything that was presented during this session, or if you would like to join the Australasian Adobe in Education monthly news update. Enjoy this session. There we go. You may recognize that voice, that amazing voiceover artist. Now let's stop sharing that video, and just before I finish off this first chapter of this session, and thank you for those who've just joined us as well, in the chat, for those who are with us live, I've just added a few of those key links. So if you want to watch that video again, if you want to share that video with your colleagues, then the link to that video is there. The Adobe Education Exchange link is there, and the Adobe Creative Educator program is there. And I'm just posting the contact link as well. If you don't already get my monthly newsletter, that is available to you through that contact form. All right, so that's the end of chapter 1. In the next chapter, we're going to jump into Adobe Spark, and we're going to be specifically looking at Adobe Spark Page. As I said earlier, Spark is part of the Creative Cloud. It is also one of many applications that are available. Just notice on this slide that every secondary school in Victoria, every government secondary school in Victoria has the full access to all the Adobe Creative Cloud applications, and Spark is probably the most popular. In New South Wales, every primary and secondary school in New South Wales that's run by the government gets access to all of these tools. And in South Australia, the schools have to opt in to the agreement. So it's not a centralised agreement in South Australia, but if the school has opted in, they get access to these amazing tools, as is the system in most other states and territories in Australia and New Zealand and around the globe as well. If you do need any help and support with the Adobe Creative Cloud applications, let me encourage you to bookmark helpx.adobe.com as a great one-stop shop to get any tutorials, basic beginner guides to full-on advanced master classes, in a sense, on the Creative Cloud application. So that's worth going into. Spark Page, as we said earlier, is a way of just creating a web page, a single web page that you can then embed into your learning management system, or just promote via a link out to online via any online tool. There's various ways of getting into Adobe Spark. One way that most schools tend to be doing more than others these days is via the Adobe desktop app. I'm just bringing it across to the share screen now. You might find you already have access to the desktop app, and finding more and more school IT admins are allowing their students and teachers to manage their own Adobe applications through the desktop app. So look for Adobe Creative Cloud in your applications, see if you've got access to the desktop app. And if you do, then notice at the top center, there are 3 buttons. One's called desktop, one's called mobile, one's called web. By default, it goes to desktop, and you see all the desktop apps that are available, and notice that Spark is not one of them because it is not a desktop app as such. Mobile, you'll notice that Spark is sitting there as 3 different applications: Spark Post, Spark Page, and Spark Video. And you can send a link to find out how to access those 3 separate Spark apps on your mobile devices. Spark Post is available on iOS and Android. The other 2 are only available on iOS. What I find is a lot of students are jumping up to web to access Spark, and then they're just quickly clicking this button here called Launch under the Spark tile here, I suppose we'll call it. And when you do click Launch, that's all they need to do. They don't need to log in because they're already logged in to get onto the desktop app. And instantly they get direct access to Spark on their browser. Whatever the default browser is, it'll open up Spark as mine is doing right now. Now, if that doesn't work for you, or if you don't have the desktop app, I want to show you a different way of doing this. I'm going to open up another browser. This time I'm going to open up a Chrome browser. I tend to find that Chrome seems to work really well for all the Spark apps. And just bringing up a new Chrome browser, putting it onto the share screen. And in the address bar, if you type in spark.adobe.com, spark.adobe.com, and I'll put that into the chat to make it a little bit easier for you rather than typing it out. You can just click on that link. And you'll notice that there are various ways of logging into Spark. And if you know your school has an enterprise agreement with Adobe and that all the kids can log in and the staff can log in with their school email address, you click this button here called Log In with School Account. And then everything stays within the school environment. You're not logging in via Google, Facebook, Apple, or the Adobe ID, which is sort of going outside of the school environment. In fact, you need to be 13 or over to log in this way through Google, Facebook, Apple, or Adobe. But if you log in with your school account, you can be under 13. So your year 7s and below, that's the only way you can really access Spark ethically. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to log in with my school account. And I encourage you to do the same right now if you can. Put in your school email address and then click Continue. And I've got 2 accounts. You'll probably have the one, so it's going to go into school company account. And you will start seeing my Adobe Federated ID system with my Adobe logo. You will be seeing your school Federated ID system. So to have your school crest, your school logo, the same system that you log into for probably 100 other types of portals on a daily basis. Now I've already got my password logged in there, so I'm going to click sign in, and I do have a second level of authentication that I have to go through. You might find that your IT system has also set up a second level of authentication, so I'm just doing that now. I'm going to send a push to my phone, and any second now I will get a notification just to verify that I am who I am, and I will be into Spark. So as you can see, that's a fairly lengthy way of getting into Adobe Spark. The quickest way is probably to go via your Adobe desktop app and just click that launch button and bang, you're in. So, but not every IT department at every school allows their students and their teachers to manage their own apps. So you might have to go through the way that I've just done it then. Once you're in, you'll notice if it's the first time you're in, you probably get a little bit of advertising or marketing or a video or something that comes up. See if you can just ignore that for the moment and look for a page that has a blue circle with a white cross in it. That is your starting point. We're looking for that button. And when you click on that button, it allows you to start creating all these amazing different types of projects. Flyers, Instagram story, Instagram posts, Facebook posts, collages, and branded graphics and custom sized graphics. They're all part of Spark Post, which is the desktop publishing side of Adobe. And we've already done a whole webinar on that. And many of you were at that and you've created a post. This one here is video. That's how you get onto Spark Video. And that's, as I said earlier, the simplest way to make a quality video through Spark Video. And that's how you get in to do that. But today, this session is all about Spark Page, which is the web page option. So go ahead and click web page. And while you're doing that, you'll just notice this little spinning dial will come on, and then you'll start seeing a blank title. It'll ask you to add a title. Before you start adding a title, we're actually going to build a web page based on a theme, the same theme that we did for the Spark video session a few weeks back. And what I'd like you to do is to download another website for me to get access to some information about this theme. And the link to it is this link here, timkitchen.net/washhands. I'm going to bring that to the chat. Get it back up there. I'll put it into the chat. And if you click on the link in the chat now, it'll take you directly to that website, timkitchen.net/washhands. These are the assets, the videos and the images and some of the dialogue and music that we use to build our Spark video in our video session. But we're going to use some of this information to build a web page as well. So just so we're all working on the same thing. You don't have to, you can do your own thing if you want to, but that's what I'm going to be choosing to use for this particular workshop. So before I get started into the next section and how to go further, let's just get our title working. And I'll just bring up my add title. When you click on the word add title, you can then start to, my title is going to be hand hygiene. And my subtitle, wash your hands. That's what my website is going to be about. And I'm going to stop this chapter now because I notice there is a little bit of chat in the chat, and we might be able to sort out any particular problems that might be going on. The next chapter will be going on to showing you how to get an image behind this title, and then we'll show you the basic tools that are available within Spark Page to help you add content to your web page. This session on Spark Page with the Department for Education in South Australia. And if I share my screen now, you can see we have just started building a Spark page on hand hygiene. And we're going to be using some assets that are on timkitchen.net, but some people weren't able to get access to this magnificent website. So we won't be necessarily all be doing that. So let's start now by thinking about an image to go in the background of our title. Notice the little plus symbol that appears. When you click on that plus symbol just down at the bottom of the page here, it asks you to add a photo. And if you've used Spark Video or Spark Post before, you'll be familiar with this panel. Add photos, upload photo, find free photos. The rest of this information may not be relevant to you unless you use Google and you've got a Google Drive, or you know what Google Photos is all about. Unless you've got Dropbox, you know what that's all about. These are all Adobe ways of getting images, but this is brilliant here. Find free photos. What I love about this is it goes straight to Unsplash, to Pixabay, to Flickr, to a whole lot of royalty-free sources of images. Do you know, and I've probably already told you this in the past, that 90% of images in Google Images are copyrighted? You're actually not supposed to use them. You're not really allowed to download or copy images from Google Images and then use them in any sort of presentation that you're going to publish. By doing that, as soon as you've published, you are likely to have been breaching copyright rules. So we're encouraging you to use Find Free Photos because it just takes you to royalty-free images. So that's fine. If you're using my site, timkitchen.net, and some of the images there, that's fine because I've opened them up as Creative Commons, royalty-free images that you can. The other option here is Upload Photo, and that allows you to upload any photo that you've got on your device. But keep in mind, do you own the rights to that photo? Is it something that you are allowed to publish? And if it's not, then I wouldn't use it. The other thing, be a little bit technical. If you upload a photo that you've taken with your iPhone or your Samsung phone, that photo could be massive. It could be like 5 megabytes in size. Now you're creating an online publication here, and you're expecting a 5 megabyte image to load beautifully on this. It's not going to work. So it needs to be compressed, and that's a whole new webinar in itself. Photoshop is a brilliant tool, for compressing large image files into small image files that still look as good as the large image files. So I'm talking about memory size here when I say large, small. So keep that in mind. But for the sake of this tutorial, click on Find Free Photos, and let's just do a search for washing hands. See what comes up. We should see a whole lot of images coming up. These are results from Pixabay, and as you hover over them, you get to see who the author is, and sometimes you get to see other sources as well as you're hovering over them. And I'm just going to grab this one here, and that will become the background to my web page as it loads itself in. So that is the plus symbol and then Find Free Photos. I'm not particularly happy with the theme of the font, the style that I've got here. I want to rework that. So I'm going to go up to the top right-hand corner where it says Themes. And when you click on the Themes button, you can create your own branding. And I do have my own Adobe brand, which is what you can see here. But as we scroll down, there's a whole lot of generic brands. Now you might want to create a special brand just for your school. And you can do that, and that'll become a brand that will appear in your Spark posts and your Spark videos and your Spark pages, all based on your school's color scheme and the font that they want you to use and so on. Or you can just grab any one of these fantastic generic themes, and they all give your web page a slightly different look and a slightly different feel. I'm going to go with this one here called Chronicle. I'm going to stick with that one. Now, as we scroll down, a bunch of new buttons appear. Photo, text button, video, photo grid, glide show, and split layout. They are the tools that you use to add content to your web page. So obviously photo allows you to add more photos. Text allows you to add text. Buttons allows you to add hyperlinks or buttons out to other websites. Videos allows you to embed any video that you've created with Spark Video and load it up to one of our video servers, or any video from YouTube, or any video from Vimeo. So there's 3 video sources there that you can embed into your Spark page. Photo grid is like a gallery of images that you can display. The glide show is a beautiful way to present, with images floating over the top of other images, or text floating over the top of an image, or even a video floating over the top of another image. We'll have a look at that a little bit later. And the split layout, obviously image on one side, text on the other. So I think we might just go to text to start with, and I'm going to find some text within my resources, and this opening paragraph here, according to the World Health Organization, I'm going to grab all of that text, and feel free, if you haven't got access to this, I'll put it into the chat so you can paste it from the chat if you like. I'll just whack it in there now. So feel free to copy and then paste it from the chat. And I'm going to paste it into my Spark page. And you'll notice that there's a typo there. That should be a capital O. In the original site, World Health Organization is a hyperlink out to the WHO website. So I'm going to click on that link and find the WHO website and copy the link to that. And I'll put that into the chat as well to make it easier for you guys. What I'm going to do with this paragraph is I'm going to highlight the word World Health Organization. And there's a button here, a little linking tool button. When you click on that link and then paste the URL, click Save, it turns that little bit of text into a hyperlink. So that's quite handy. The other thing to keep in mind is when you click on any word, you get to format heading 1, heading 2, quotation, bullet point, number points, bold, italic, hyperlink we've already mentioned. You can align to the left, align to the center, align to the right. So you've got quite a few formatting options, but it's not too complicated. It's actually all designed to be creating things really simply. So that is how you can add text, and you can put as much text as you want. Remember, you're creating one single long page. It's not a website you're building, it's a web page that you're building, and then you can just make links from the page. If we scroll up to the top and down to the bottom, you get a sense of what this is like, and you'll notice these little plus symbols appear. Every time you add an asset, you get another plus symbol that appears after it and before it, so you can add more content either before or after whatever you've added. So we're going to do one more thing before we stop the chapter and just check the chat. This is a good time now if you've got any questions or comments to throw them in the chat. I'm going to add another image, and this time I think I will grab an image from my site, but I would recommend, if you can't access my site, just to go ahead and go to Photo and go to Find Free Photos and just find another image of washing hands, something that's appropriate with that statement that I've just typed in here, and then add that. So if you have got my website, I'm going to find the site here. I'm actually going to open it up in Chrome because I've been having some issues with Firefox and downloading images in the recent past. This image here of these hands, I actually drew this myself with Adobe Fresco. Fantastic tool. I'm not a great drawer, as you can probably tell, but you know, that's pretty good. And I ended up tracing that, I must admit. I found another image that was similar to that, and I put it into Fresco as a base layer, and then I layered on top of, a bit like Photoshop, you layer on top of layer on top of layer. And then I just drew and traced around the image and then reworked it, remixed it with a pen tool and a fill tool, and I added these little stars, and there's probably about 7 or 8 different layers in that image, all done with Adobe Fresco on my iPad. You can now access Adobe Fresco on your phone. Just draw with your finger. You can also add Fresco. You can access Fresco on your Windows tablet. It's free. It's a really lovely drawing tool, well worth getting to know. If you've got access to that image, do a right click on it and go Save Image As. And I'm going to save it on my desktop. And now I'm going to go back to my Spark page, and I'm going to paste it in. I'm going to get that image to appear underneath this paragraph by clicking the plus symbol, going to Photo, and instead of Find Free Photos, I'm going to click this little arrow next to Find Free Photos and then click Upload Photo. And when I click Upload Photo, it's going to ask me where do I want to upload from. On my desktop, let's find the most recent thing on my desktop. There it is. And then click Open. And that image should start opening up on my page as it is now. When you do add a photo onto your Spark page, you can click on the photo. You can have that photo by default. It goes in line with everything else. But if you click Fill Screen, you get this option here of filling the screen and then having a caption. Say, wash your hands. Another option is to go window, and it reveals the picture inside a window, which in this case doesn't work that well because I can't see the top of the picture. So there is another interesting aspect here. If I click on the picture, I can adjust what's called the focal point of the picture. And if I click on and drag to choose the focal point, maybe to be up here, and click Save at the top right-hand corner, that focal point has now changed. That probably looks a little bit more appropriate. Although in this case, I'm thinking that I will just go in line. I think that's fine for this purpose. So in this chapter, we've had a look at how to add text and how to format the text. We've looked how to add another photo and then format that photo and even add a caption to that photo as well. In the next chapter, we will be looking at how to add a hyperlink and how to embed a video into our Spark page. Chapter 4 of this session with the Department for Education in South Australia, and we're looking at Adobe Spark page. So far we have, as I share my screen, we've learned how to get access to Spark page for a start, and we've learned how to put in our title and an image behind our title and adjust the theme accordingly. We've added some text content and learned how to format that text. And we've added an external image, in this case, an image that I created with Adobe Fresco. Notice we have another plus symbol, and so now we can look at adding a hyperlink. If I click the button option, a very simple little window appears with the name of the button and then the URL, the link to go. And in this case, let's see, I might just go to the World Health Organization website again and use that as the button. And I seem to have lost it. I'll just bring it up again. So I'm going to use that URL and just going to type in World Health, WHO, and then paste that link. And I think I might center it and then click Save. So now that kind of doesn't make sense, does it? So I'm going to click on it again and go to Edit. And instead of WHO, I'll say World Health Organization, and that probably is a little bit better. Or I could go to Edit again and just say Site. It's always good to give your user a bit of information about what the link is, so they know what they're clicking into. So that's the simple process of how to add a button or a hyperlink into your web page. Let's go through the process of adding a video now. And I said earlier, any video from YouTube, from Vimeo or Spark video that you've created, and as long as it's on a server somewhere with a link, you can embed the video. Let's just check the World Health Organization website, see if they actually do have a YouTube clip. This may not be on YouTube. Let's see. It is. Perfect. All right. So I'm not sure what it's about, but I'm sure it's very friendly from the World Health Organization. Oh, here's one, hand washing. Even better. Oh, how cool is this? So there's already a video ready to go. It's on YouTube. There's no copyright issues now because it's not as if we're downloading the video and then uploading it into our servers and pretending it's our video. It's still their video. We are streaming it, not downloading and uploading it. That's the difference. That's why it stays within copyright rules. I'm going to grab the link to that video. I could grab the top link, or better still, see this button called Share? It provides a shorter link, which makes things a little bit easier. I'm going to grab that shorter link and copy it, and then jump back into my Spark page and grab the next little plus symbol and click Video. I'm going to paste the link to the video, and if you weren't able to access that video, I'm also going to put it in the chat just so that you've got something to work with. There we go, that video is now in the chat for you. And as soon as I click Save, that video is now embedded itself into my Spark page. And it looks like it's my video from my page, but it's not. It's actually just an embedded link to the YouTube video. And you can add as many videos as you like. So far, this is what we've got. My title page, my text, my still image, my hyperlink, and my video embedded into it. Let's do one more thing on this chapter, and then we'll stop this chapter and see if there's any comments or questions. The next thing is the photo grid. If I click on photo grid, I'm thinking I might go to find free photos again, and I'm already under the search of washing hands. So I'm just going to grab a bunch of images that represent hand washing that I haven't already used. And as I'm clicking them, you can see the gallery is forming. Once I've clicked, I'll just do one more here, and then click Save at the top right-hand corner. Those images are loading themselves onto my page, and again, because I went to find free photos, everything is ethically okay. I'm not just grabbing images and loading them from Google Images. We've already had that conversation. And now you get a sense of what this is going to look like. It's good at this point here to show you this preview button at the top, give you more of a sense of what this is going to look like if it was published on the internet. Keep in mind, you don't need to publish this on the internet. You might just want to be sharing it with the person next to you. Therefore, you don't need to publish it. You can just go preview, or you could be a school student that just wants to share what they've created to their class. You've connected the laptop up to the data projector. They click preview, and at no point have you actually uploaded anything onto the internet. And if we scroll up to the top, you can see what it would look like if it was on the internet. No plus symbols now. It's very much a preview mode. That's a link to my website, a link to the hand washing video, and my gallery of images. If I clicked on any one of these images, it gives me a different gallery view. I get to see these images in full screen, and I can navigate through them left or right. So it becomes a nice way of displaying a range of images within your Spark page. I want to close that preview. I'll click on the X, and as I go down to the bottom, look what else we can see here. All of these credits have automatically been added, and they're all the credits that relate to the Creative Commons imagery that you've brought in through the Find Free Photos. So that's a really nice addition to have those automatically credited. And that's all within the rules of the Creative Commons process of royalty-free images. I'm going to close the preview now by clicking the X at the top. And just show you one more thing, and that is up the top here where it says Present, which is slightly different to Preview. If I click on Present, again, I could be a student standing in front of the classroom about to present my project on washing hands or hand hygiene. And instead of scrolling through, I could have a clicker or just use the arrow. And as I click the forward arrow, I'm now going to the next section. Click again, I'm going to the next section. I can play that video, go to the next section, and so on. It's a bit like a PowerPoint presentation in this sense. If I click Escape, it'll take me out of that preview mode. And I've actually seen at conferences, I've seen keynote presenters using Spark Page as their format for presenting their talk, which I thought was really cool. I mean, we've been using PowerPoint now since we were very young. I remember starting to play with PowerPoint in 1992, I think it was. It was very early days in PowerPoint, and I loved it. It was so good. But there are alternatives. It's not the be-all and end-all of multimedia in the world. And so it's nice to be able to share with students other ways to do presentations. So folks, I'm going to stop this chapter and see if there's any questions with those who are with us live at the moment. This Spark Page workshop session with Adobe and the Department for Education in South Australia. Let's have a look at what we have created so far in Spark Page. It's the topic of hand hygiene, very topical at the moment. And as we scroll through, we can see some text, we can see a still image that we loaded, we can see the hyperlink and the video and the gallery of images. And we've got another plus symbol to play with. This chapter, we're going to be looking at glide show and split layout. And I love the glide show. When you click on glide show as an option, this is quite unique. I don't think there's many software applications out there that do things as the way this looks. I'm going to choose this image here because it's a portrait image and it'll be a nice background. So this is going to be my background image. And once I've selected it, I'm going to click Save. And this becomes the background to my glide show. You'll notice a little panel now floats over the top of this background. That panel I can reposition into the center of my screen if I want to. I can even drag it to the right-hand side, but I'm going to stick with the left using the rule of thirds because it seems to work best with this particular background image. That panel has a plus symbol. Click on the plus symbol. I can now add another photo to float over the top of this background. I could add some text to annotate over the top of this background. I could add a hyperlink. I could even add a video. Now think of the power that a student has with just those tools within a glide show in terms of a digital portfolio solution. It's so pleasing to see schools literally all over the world. And when I was able to travel, I was seeing schools all over the world, in America, in Asia Pacific, around Australia and New Zealand, who are using Spark Page as their digital portfolio solution. And the ones that I particularly loved was the fact that maybe this is a piece of work that a student has created and digitized. It might even be an essay that they've handwritten and taken a photo of it. Whatever it is, it's a piece of work that is to be assessed by the teacher. And then they've created a video about the work. The video was created with Spark Video. It was then loaded onto one of our servers. The link became available, and the link ended up going into this video section. And the video talks about why they made the work, how they made the work, what the work means to them. What did they learn in the process of doing it? What would they have done better if they had more time? What are they really most proud of? Or a lot of the things that you as a teacher don't know when you're just looking at a student's work, but by getting a video and hearing from the student, you're getting this really rich, authentic assessment from your students. It's a very powerful approach to assessment. And it's a very engaging approach too. And it really adds meaning to what the students are actually producing for you, rather than just getting a piece of work in at a certain due date, getting a grade for it, and that's it. It's wonderful to see these videos. What's even more exciting is when I see a video that a teacher has shown me of a student talking about the development of that piece of work. And more teachers now are balancing the results of their grades, in a sense, on the process rather than just the end result. And that is a fundamental part of creativity. It's a fundamental part of developing the skill of being creative, not just focusing on the end result and the mark at the end and then going on to your next assignment, but focusing on what the process was involved in getting to that end result, and then talking about that. And if you can have a video that helps document and reflect on that process, wow, it's a really powerful learning and teaching experience. And they're some of the highlights that I get to see Spark Page being used for. Might just bring in that video again there, show you what it kind of would look like. So if I go to preview mode now, we'll get a sense of what the page is going to look like from the start, scrolling through the video, and there's my beautiful glide show. The glide show doesn't have to be just one background either. It can be multiple backgrounds with multiple panels appearing with text and videos, and it's just a beautiful way to present. If we go to present mode, it looks a little bit different. There we go. If I just arrow back, arrow forward, and back, you can see what it looks like in present mode if I was using my clicker or my arrows. But again, a nice way to present something. So folks, that is virtually everything that I wanted to share with you, other than how to publish. And in the next chapter, I'll just stop sharing for the moment. In the next chapter, we will look at how to actually publish your work and then embed it into your learning management system or into an email, or whichever way you want it to communicate online. To chapter 6, is that right, Tommy? Chapter 6?
6 is correct.
Of this session on Spark Page with South Australian Department for Education teachers. And at this point, I'd like to thank the teachers that are with us live at the moment. It's always great to have live interactions. And if you're just watching the recording of this, next time we're running a session, see if you can make it live. It just makes things so much more interactive if you can join us live. Let me share my screen and show you how to export and finish off your page. Let's say you've added all of your content and you're ready to go. You're ready to export. And I haven't done a split layout yet, have I? So let me do that quickly for you first. If I go to split layout, you can see add an image on one side, text on the other side. I'll just quickly do an image now. And we'll just keep this simple. Wash your hands. Might form that as a heading 1 or even as a quote. That'd be nice. So it just gives you another way of presenting. We can swap those two around, those two little arrows in the middle. Any second now you'll see the picture on the right hand side and the text on the left hand side. Any second now, there we go, that took a little while. And that's basically every element that's within Spark Page. So let's go ahead and publish our work. Up the top you can see there's two buttons we haven't looked at yet. One is called Share, and this one here, Invitation button. To show you this one first, when you click the Invitation button, you can actually invite someone else to collaborate with you on your Spark page. This button also features in Spark Video and in Spark Post as well. So it becomes a team effort. It becomes a collaboration tool. Those team members can't publish your work, but they can contribute to it. So just keep that in mind. It's something that we encourage you. It's a major part of creativity as well, encouraging people to work together in teams. And when you look at the most important skills to thrive in the future, according to the World Economic Forum, creativity and collaboration are always in the top 5 and have been for the last 20 years. 2 of the top 5 most important skills for your students to thrive in the future. So anytime you get an opportunity to do an assessment piece that is a collaborative assessment piece, I encourage you to do that, because your students need lots of examples of how to work in a team, because it's not something that comes natural to everybody. So that's one thing, the invitation tool. Next to the invitation tool is the share tool. And when you click on share, we've got a few options here. We can publish and share a link, which we will do in a minute. I could print. By clicking print, it will convert my whole Spark page into a PDF document. Now that becomes date stamped, which is important for a lot of teachers, especially when it comes to moderation. How do you know that a student hasn't made changes to it since they submitted? Well, if they give it to you as a PDF, it's date stamped. And so you've got the date that is it. They can't make changes to it once it's a PDF. And you've got it. I mean, it's not that you can't make changes to a PDF. That's what Adobe Acrobat is all about. But once you've got the PDF, you know they can't make online changes to it. Send to Google Drive. If your school is a Google school and you use Google Drive and keep everything very in-house, that's an option for you as well. And there's the same invite tool down the bottom. But I'm going to go ahead and publish and send link. It gives a title, which I already have given. I'm going to pick a category. I'm going to choose Education. You can turn on or off your author attribution. I'm going to keep it on because I'm over 18. But when you're working with students under 18, keep in mind you are about to publish to the internet now. So it's probably best to turn that off and keep things as private as possible for your students. Notice the photo credits that automatically come up. You can fine tune those or even add your own credits. Add your name, your student's name, your team's name, all the people that you worked with into the credits if you want to. And then click Create Link. What's happening now is a Spark page is packaging everything that you've created and turning it into an HTML document, hypertext markup language, that's a technical term, sending it to one of our web servers and generating a URL. And there it is, folks. That link, I'm going to copy it now and put it into the chat so that you can see it yourself. And if you click on that link that's in the chat, you will see my web page because it's coming to you from that web server. Notice the other options here. We've got Facebook. Now that it's published, we can link it to Facebook. We can link it to Twitter. We can link it to your Google Classrooms account if you've got one. We can link it to your Microsoft Teams account if your school uses Microsoft Teams. We can link it to your email. Or we can grab the embed code, which is quite cool. When you click on the embed button, this embed code here, it looks pretty complicated, but a lot of learning management systems will allow you to embed your Spark page by grabbing that code and then maybe going to the module on your LMS that says HTML and then pasting that code into that module. And then instead of linking to your Spark page becomes part of your learning management system page or the module that you're in within your LMS. So you've got a number of options there in terms of publishing and sharing, which is really cool. So those who are with us live, I'm encouraging you now to do exactly the same. Go and publish and share in the chat what you've created. And some are coming in already, which is great. Those of you who are watching the recording of this, we're going to do one more chapter, which is outlining some key resources for you to follow up and learn more about not only the Spark tools, but other tools as well. So we'll see you for the final chapter very soon. Chapter of this session on Adobe Spark page for the Department for Education in South Australia. And I want to thank the people who have joined us live for this session and for their contributions. It was lovely in between the last two chapters to hear from a couple of you in terms of use cases on how you'd use Spark page in your classroom and in your administration use at your workplace. Just want to share a couple of things. One is that the link that you generate when you create a Spark page, that remains consistent no matter how many times you make changes to your site. So that's good to know. You don't change your link. Once you've published your link, it remains consistent. Every time a student clicks on it, whatever changes you've made, they will see those changes without having to go to a different link, which is very helpful. Let's share my screen and come back to my page. This is where I left you, showing you the embed code. I'm just going to close that panel now. And if we go to the top left-hand corner, you can see the little SP Home symbol. When you click on that, it takes you back to your dashboard. It takes you back to all of your Spark projects for you to re-edit, rework. And you can see here I've got the page that I worked on, and 5 of you have accessed it, and one of you actually appreciated it out of 5. Thank you. That's very kind of you. We've got another Spark page here, a video that I created for a demo, a Spark post. So all of these different Sparks that I've been creating, you can see a little bit of analytics. If I go to this button here called Projects on the left-hand side, I've created some subfolders by going to this button on the right-hand side to create a folder to help me organize my Spark projects. If I go to my online events folder, we can see some interesting analytics here with some key pages. For instance, let's have a look at this one here. This particular page, 1.5 thousand teachers have looked at this particular page and 9 of them have appreciated it. Oh, well. At least 9 of them have, which is nice. So you can see it becomes, you get that bit of analytics is quite helpful for you, especially if you're publishing something to the wider community and you want to know how many people are actually seeing it, which is good. Now, there's the plus symbol again, so I can go and create something else if I want to. But what I want to do now is share with you some key resources for not only Spark, but for other Adobe applications as well. And this is a link here. I'll just bring the link into the chat. It'll be a slightly different looking link, but for those who are with us live, so you can get direct access to it. This is a set of edu tips, as I call them, that I created last year on Adobe Spark. And you can see we've got the browser versions and we've got the iOS versions. If you are a school that uses iPads or your iPhones, you've got other versions there too. A nice little video introduction by Rob the Robot, who's one of our character animated characters that I've created to introduce your students to Spark and what all the Spark tools do. So that could be quite helpful for you. So if you want to revisit the things that I've shown you with Spark page, but also go and look at Spark video and Spark post, these tutorials will be really helpful for you. Before I introduce you or show you about the Adobe Education Exchange, I want to play a video that features Rob the Robot. And Rob the Robot, who's my personal assistant, is going to share with you some key resources. And Tommy and I are going to play a little game of what we call it URL racing, link racing. And we're going to see if we can get the resources that Rob talks about into the chat. And the first one in will be the winner, Tommy. So let's see how we go.
Hi there, it's Rob the Robot here from the Adobe Education team. Thank you for being involved.
Sorry, I think I've just done it again. I think I've just shared that video without stopping sharing. So make sure I stop sharing, and I'm going to play that again. It may have worked for you, but sometimes it doesn't work unless I stop sharing first. So let's do that again.
Hi there, it's Rob the Robot here from the Adobe Education team. Thank you for being involved with this Adobe in Education event. On behalf of the team, I would like to share some follow-up resources that will not only benefit you, but also your colleagues and wider education networks. Use this QR code or link to find out more about the Adobe Creative Educator program. This is a badging program that involves multiple levels. To obtain the Level 1 badge, you need to do the Creativity for All course on the Adobe Education Exchange. The focus of this course is creativity in education rather than Adobe. You don't need to be an Adobe expert or even a regular Adobe user to get your Level 1 badge. Inject Creativity Live is a live and on-demand show on the Adobe for Education YouTube channel. It is recorded every second Wednesday evening at 6:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Time during the school terms. Each show features a practical demo from a teacher who is an Adobe education leader. The demo is of a practical Adobe application and how that teacher is using it in the classroom. Each show also features a thought piece from a leading education thought leader. The show also features me. Let your colleagues know about Inject Creativity Live and join the live audience every second Wednesday night. This QR and link take you to our contact form. Use this form to make sure you are on the email lists for our monthly updates for Australasian teachers. This QR and link takes you to the Australasian Adobe in Education coming events site to keep you and your colleagues informed with the wide range of professional learning opportunities that are freely available to all educators in any curriculum area and level. We hope you enjoyed this session. Please do share what you've learned with your colleagues and wider education networks, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.
Thank you very much, Rob the Robot, and hopefully you've got access to those links. And well done, Tommy, on beating me on 2 occasions in that link race that we just had. Just finally, I want to share a couple of things. The Adobe Education Exchange. We are pretty close to getting 1 million teachers now on the Adobe Education Exchange, which is pretty awesome. And there's so many resources on there. It's the gateway to the Adobe Creative Educator program, and if you do a search for Adobe Spark or even Adobe Spark page, and maybe do a search for English Teaching Year 8 Spark page, you'll have lots of great resources that teachers have added to the Exchange that relate to that particular curriculum area, that year level, and that particular product, and so on with all our other products as well. It's a wonderful resource, and the courses on there are outstanding. If you want to spend a bit of time just developing your own digital literacy skills and your own creativity skills, do maybe 1 or 2 courses a year, and you'll find that your development is really terrific. The course that I'd highly recommend you have a look at first, if you haven't already, is the Adobe Creative Educator course Level 1, which is called Creativity for All. This course is not designed for Adobe experts as such. It's designed for any teacher who's just interested in knowing more about the importance of creativity in education. And we've had some of the world experts in that topic of creativity in education help us put this course together. And I'm really pleased that it's not just all from America either. We've actually had some experts here in Australia involved, and you'll see that as you do the course. It takes about an hour to do, but I have actually starting to promote now a couple of not face-to-face, but online events that help you through that course. So on the 13th of April, which is school holidays, week after next, 10:30 till 12:30, if you want to have your hand held through that particular course, rather than you doing it on your own, then I'm working with a bunch of teachers to help them through that course on that day. And then I'm repeating that same webinar on the 24th of May after school time, South Australia time, 3:30 till 5:30 South Australia time. So feel free to register for one of those 2. They're all free and they'll help you through. And if you do it successfully, you will end up with a special Credly badge, an internationally recognized badge called the Adobe Creative Educator badge, level 1, that you can put on your email signature and your resume. When I was a school administrator, one of the first things I used to do when we were employing teachers, particularly younger teachers, is we'd look at what networks they were part of. Are they part of the Microsoft Innovative Educators Network? Are they Google Educators? Are they part of the Apple Distinguished Educator Program? Are they part of Adobe's networks? And if they are, they would jump up to the top of the list, because if you're part of those networks, it means you're a lifelong learner. You want to know what is out there and how to improve your own professional practice. So there were the teachers that I wanted to employ when I was a school administrator in a past life. We mentioned the Inject Creativity Live show every second Wednesday night. The next episode is actually tomorrow night at 6 o'clock your time, South Australian time. Erin and I will be hosting the last show for Term 2, and we've got a couple of Adobe Education leaders who are lined up, both from Melbourne actually, these two, and they're brilliant and you'll love them. One's doing a demo on Adobe Acrobat and the other one is a thought leader, just sharing a thought piece. As we finish off, Sir Ken Robinson, who is pretty much my guru, I've got to say, I've had the great opportunity of meeting him on 3 occasions. I felt very blessed, and sadly we lost him to the world last August. Just before, we had him booked in to do the Adobe Education Max event, which was so sad to lose him so suddenly. In his 2006 TED Talk, the most watched TED Talk ever in the history of TED Talks, he said, "We don't grow into creativity, we grow out of it, or rather, we get educated out of it." Actually, to be honest, I'm not sure if that quote was from his TED Talk, but it's certainly a quote from Sir Ken in one of his many books or one of his many presentations. But it's something that we need to be careful not to do, because in our education system, when we're so focused on standardized testing, when we're so focused on getting through lots of curriculum in a short space of time in a crowded curriculum, we sometimes forget how important it is to allow students to be creative. And we've got to allow those opportunities, and we really don't want to educate the creativity out of our students. Teachers work tirelessly to bring students amazing learning experiences, and Adobe is here to help you be successful. So please do contact us if you're not part of my monthly newsletter. It came out last weekend, so if you didn't get it on Saturday, I think, for South Australia, join my contact list so you get the April edition of my newsletter. And the Department for Education is looking for feedback on these sessions. So that link there, I will put it into the chat. It's a long URL you're going to get in the chat, but that link is something that the department is keen for you to be aware of. And the next session that I think I'm running, the next session on Thursday, the 6th of May, is on Photoshop, tips and tricks for teachers in all curriculum areas. So hopefully you can join us live for that session if you haven't joined us live in the past. And thank you very much for joining us today. And those who are with us live, we'll stay on for a few more minutes to have a chat. Otherwise, we'll look forward to seeing you on the 6th of May. All the best. Bye-bye.